Do you have a data of the number of states that have refused to ratify? Do you have any figures? Or?
I know that in the eastern state, only Enugu State is left to ratify it. And then in the northern region, none. Okay. I'm yet to know of any northern state that have rectified.
I think Jigawa, I'm not really sure. I think Jigawa's domesticated it. But yeah,
but again, he was talking about the religious sentiments that went into the restrictions, you know. But even in the southwest here, some conservative cultural issues came up. You know, people were afraid that we were tilting towards the Western way of doing things. If you talk about child's right, does that mean if I beat my child, the child has the right to go and report me to the police? No, these are some of the ideologies that we had to fight with, you know, before people began to lower their guards and began to understood that children who know their rights are actually more responsible to themselves and to the civil authorities. You know, so these are some of the whole restrictions that we had to fight against. It's even okay that it's in the northern region where religious issues it's worse when cultural ideologies and stereotypes begin to fight against this progress.
Yeah. And I think we shouldn't just limit it to the northern region. For example, it's just like female genital mutilation, FGM. Yeah. You know, where they still circumcise female girls. It happens some parts of the southern states as well, you understand? So these are some of the issues that came up in the Child Rights Act. It said, no, don't circumcise ladies, for example. People came up and said, it's cultural. We do it way back. We've been doing it before now. And different issues keeps coming up from different angles, you understand? And
speaking of things that, there's something that has, it's not so new, but it's something that has sort of taken prominence in the world in recent times, especially, I think, pushed by CNN, I think, the issue of modern-day slavery.
Absolutely.
And it's something that I know most of West Africa, and Nigeria in particular, is actually very guilty of. And children are some of the biggest sort of casualties when it comes to that. Is this something, are you seeing a decline? Are you seeing an increase? What is happening in that circle today?
Well, I know that a lot of people are becoming more aware of the dangers of employing children as laborers. If we're to go by the ILO definition of child labor, we're talking about any job or any duty, any income earning activity that hinders the child's development, be it mentally, physically, or socially. Unfortunately, of course, it does exist in Africa, but we've always had a way of hiding the whole crime in the midst of our traditional talk. I give you a typical setting. A couple gets married, they have a child, you know, and then they go and get somebody from the village to come and live with them.
A little nephew or something.
Most times not nephew, most are not related. They call them nephews and family members just because
from the
village. Defining the geographical location where the person comes from. But the treatment the person gets, he or she doesn't go to school, he has to wake up very early, he's the last to go to bed, he hugs, he does everything. That is modern day slavery, you know. So anything that hinders the development of any human being, especially children, is tagged as child labor and of course slavery. You know, so of course it does exist in our
it's something that's a very thin line. People have also said, okay, what if a child goes to school and you're paying for his education while he's doing that? Where do you draw the line? I mean, we're a very poor country, right? Like, you know, over 100 million people are poor. And if that's the way you're going to help, okay, the child goes to school in the morning and comes back and does the hawking in the evening or does chores in the house. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think if you try to create a balance between both, I think that's where it will work. The child works for you when he or she is back from school. I think that's better. Comes back, does the chores, do a better thing. I think it's better. The child still gets an education at the end of the day. What we are really concerned about here is about the violence that is involved. You know, sometimes many of these people violate their house helps. We've had cases of rape. And interestingly enough, I'm a part of a network called Church for Life. And one of the campaigns we're doing is basically on the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Bill. It's a bill right now in the National Assembly. The House of Rep has actually passed it. It's actually gone through the first reading in the National Assembly, in the Senate right now, and it hasn't been passed. One of the things this talks about is violence against persons. If this bill is actually passed, it's going to protect and prohibit people from actually getting in acts of violence. For example, you just don't hit your house help because he's actually helping you. You just don't attack your next door neighbor. There are specific fines and convictions and all of that that's actually entailed in this. So one of the things I will actually advocate to actually address this issue of house helps being maltreated, as it were, is the issue of the passage of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Bill if that bill can be passed. The House of Rep has passed it. It's just saying we're prohibiting violence against persons.
If I can if I can just make a comment, you know, it's always been a controversial issue of knowing exactly where to draw the line between child responsibility and child labor. You know, I like to use myself as an example. We growing up, we come from very humble backgrounds, you know, and in the OAU Charter of Child Welfare of the African Child, it talks about having children working for the cohesion of the family, which means that there's nothing wrong in having a child contributing, you know, to the well-being and welfare of that family. Again, as long as it doesn't hinder with the child's personal development, be it educationally, health-wise, emotionally, and you know, if you're to look at that, as long as it's an income-generating activity, it's work. It's seen as work. So you can also turn, for instance, young children who are under 17, who play football, who earn income. You know, no, I'm just giving it from that example. If you're going to draw the line, you might as well say that all those young people are being undergoing labor. You know, but as long as what they are doing doesn't hinder their own personal development, then it's not labor. It's seen as you contributing. We all had parents who had small business, a shop. We come back from school, we go and help our parents in the shop. After the shop, we go back home, we do assignments, we go to school. These were things, and it's a normal African requirement for every growing child, you know.
I think it still boils down to the best interest of the child. Yeah. In whatever thing you decide to do, if the child is going to work for you, or if it's a kind of a decent labor that will earn the child money, it has to be the best interest of the child.
Something that I've noticed an increase in recently as well. I don't know whether it's because maybe we now have sort of social media making it a little louder, or if it's always been this way and just was underreported, is the issue of sexual abuse of children. Almost every day now you open the newspaper, a child, a 7-year-old girl, or a 13-year-old boy has been raped. And it's across the country.
It has always been there. It has always been there. Now, I'm privileged to be among the Child Protection Network of Lagos State, and on a daily basis we get reports. Now, here's the difference. The difference is that we now have neighbors who are becoming more aware of the dangers. In the past, people used to turn the other eye and then say, well, it's not my business. It's really, I shouldn't. But we now have people who know, you know, they say in every emergency situation, there are two things that are very important. It's that you know what to do or who to call. You know, now Nigerians know who to call. Nigerians know what to do. And that is why, as sad as it is, we keep hearing about cases. And it's good enough. You hear about these cases and they're being persecuted and they're taken up. But that is not to say that you still have, for every one case that is reported, you probably have like 100 other cases that is swept under the carpet. So these cases are there within our environment, in our schools, you know, in our churches, in our mosques. Every child caregiver centers where you have people caring for children.
I'll make a quick addition to that. My network, Cultures for Life, one of the things we've realized over time is that there are quite a number of unreported cases.
Absolutely.
Issues like incest, where you have between brothers and sisters, maybe the cousin and the daughter. You know, they cover these things. They say it's just family affair. These issues go unreported, you understand? Absolutely. They just cover it. And one of the things we're actually advocating for is that people need to begin to speak up and talk about these issues. First thing first, create an avenue whereby for parents, an avenue whereby your child can actually dialogue with you. If I leave from here just now, I'll be doing a series on Wheated Hibiscus. I've been narrating about kids, how they get abused and all that at a place I'm going after now. One of the things I realize is this. Parents don't create that platform for their kids to actually come across to them. I've had scenarios where young people actually tell me things, and I realize that it's just because they don't have that access. Many parents are usually very busy all year round, and they hardly create time for their kids. And when they do, and when kids speak to them, they say, oh, no, just keep quiet. Why will you say such a thing? Somebody touched your child inappropriately, and the child goes, Uncle touched me. No, keep quiet. Why? You know, this creates an avenue for this kind of things to thrive, and that's why we have these things. Thank God to the new media, most of these cases have been reported, but they're actually underreported.
Yes.
right
Even
now.
still.
You know, but again, you want to commend the activities of Lagos State government.
Okay.
You know, they have put in place certain structures and feedback mechanisms that people can actually work into. We're talking about the Office of the Public Defender, the OPD. We're talking about the existing child protection network that already goes on. You know, any of the non-governmental organizations that belong to the child protection network, once you are able to get across to them, there are line ministries that will take care of your cases from legislative point of view to the medical point of view, to ensure that, you know, both the child and the perpetrator are well, you know,
they are brought to book.
They're brought to book, basically.
Yeah. On a final note now, going forward, looking at the Nigerian child with, you know, all of the kidnappings and the violence in schools and all of that, what do you see that the future holds for the Nigerian child?
Well, for me, I won't say that the future is bleak. I hate to be pessimistic. I'll be very optimistic. Nigeria is one of the best places to actually live, and I think it's one of the best places to grow up in. People have had various challenges, and they've still turned out to become better persons in society. I use myself as a personal example as well too. One of the things I think is this: our leaders, the government, needs to actually do more. We need to invest in our children. Kofi Annan said that a nation that disconnects itself from its youth or its children actually severs its lifeline. Our children are the assurances that we have a future. And I think government needs to invest more in the area of education. Government needs to invest more in the area of helping kids to actually participate properly. I know there's a system in place like the Nigerian Children's Parliament where kids are able to participate and to represent at the national level and in all states as well too. Yeah. Should talk about survival rights of kids as well to scale up the national immunization programs, as it were. Talking about the issue of development rights, help them all-round development. I think these are areas we need to concentrate on. For me, I see hope. I see a world fit for children. It's just that all stakeholders have to bring their hands on deck. Non-governmental organizations, non-state actors, the media, the government. It's just not the government alone. Let everyone, let the change begin from you, yourself, you understand? And let's do that contribution.
That was finally for me.
Yeah, well, you know, one thing I've learned from this whole media campaign, especially social media campaign, that the Bring Back Our Girls campaign, it's going to show me that there is actually future, there is a hope, no matter how late it may be coming. I just wish it translates more into the personal reflection of the individuals in our community. We begin to see our children not just as instruments and victims of war, but we begin to look out for them. Every one of us, you know, it's within the four walls of every unit of the family. If we're able to see our children as priority, you know, they are our succession plan. If we don't take care of them, as you said, we are severing our future. So if every individual family can begin to see their children as an investment for the future, you know, it will translate in our government. So basically, that's my aspiration and my hope.
Thank you very much. Wise words there. Thanks very much, Francis. Thank you very much, Charles.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
And I hope we have a very peaceful Children's Day celebration. Of course, Democracy Day, which comes up 2 days after that.
Hopefully. We hope so.
Now, remember, you can join the conversation on Twitter at YNigerTV. Is the handle. The hashtag is Rubbing Minds. You can also go to the website yniger.com/TV. Remember, you've never seen young people talk like this before. I'll see you next week.